Welcome to the program. I'm Mark Imperial. This segment's being brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals get their books done and published to educate consumers, grow their businesses, and to leave a legacy. I'm doing a series of spotlights on remarkable business intermediaries and brokers from across the country. Joining me on this segment is Anthony Rigney. He's the founder of Quorum Business Advisors based out of Jacksonville, Florida. Anthony, welcome to the program.
Mark, thank you so much for having me here. I'm delighted to be here with you.
Tell us a little bit about your work and specifically, who are the types of folks and owners that you specialize in helping?
Well, the interesting thing about our work, Mark, is a lot of people don't know what we do. And that's almost intentional because everything we do is shrouded in a cloak of confidentiality. But we work with business owners and we help them when the time comes when they're either ready to retire or they're looking for a new career start and they're ready to step out of their business. We help find buyers for their business. And our job's really, it's not so much to sell the business as to bring the right people together, the right seller with the right buyer.
So the inspiration for this entire series has been the Great Resignation, and hearing that lots of folks are really deciding I need to leave the corporate cubicle and go off on my own. And buying a business is obviously a great jumpstart to that. Has this Great Resignation, have you seen it in your area motivate more buyers and in fact maybe motivate sellers that have been on the fence? What have you seen?
Well, there's kind of two great waves happening. There is the Great Resignation. Those are people who are leaving the corporate world and want to be their own boss. That's going on. At the same time, we've got a huge wave of baby boomers who are hitting retirement age. And in many cases, for small business owners, the most valuable asset is their business. And we help bring those people together. So we're helping bring these two communities that are converging together. And it's a very exciting time. And there's a lot of people who want to get into the business world. It's very advantageous to step into a business that's already running, that's already profitable, that already has staff in place, rather than go the startup route. Going the startup route involves investing a lot of money and then maybe not even turning a profit for at least 2 years. That's the typical story of a new business startup.
Great point. And it seems almost a little counterintuitive because of the pandemic and everything going on. How is the business climate? Is it really an opportune time to transfer a business or go into a business now? What's doing well?
Actually, Mark, I've never seen it so good. And I know that's going to be hard for you to believe. But over the last 2 years, a lot of businesses have done very well. Particularly in certain areas, construction industry has been red hot. Obviously, many medical businesses, distribution, trucking. There's a lot of different businesses out there. Landscaping, for example, home improvement. People who are stuck at home during the pandemic, they wanted to improve their homes. And so there's a lot of businesses that did very well during this period. They're very profitable. They're more profitable than they've ever been. At the same time, the people who are out there, the buyers who are out there, they're looking for these businesses that did well through the pandemic, the essential businesses, and they're willing to pay a premium for them. So we've had these two converging waves coming together, and it's been a great time to be in the business brokerage world. I actually had my best year ever last year.
So congratulations on that, and it is very fascinating for these sellers, whether they're boomers retiring or just motivated to sell now. If they've had their business for a long time, do you find that often it's the first time they're going through this process? Do they come informed, or do they have a lot of questions? What kind of questions do you get from them?
A lot of questions and a lot of fear. I sold one business last year, and it really sticks in my mind because this was an older gentleman, and I've been talking to him for about 3 years. It took him about 3 years to get to the point where he was willing to trust me with selling his business. This was a business he'd owned for 3 decades. And what we find, Mark, is that business owners, particularly the ones who've owned a business for a long time, or it's been a family business, they have an emotional attachment to that business. It's like a child. They brought it into the world. They helped raise it. They put their blood, sweat, and tears into it. And so it's more than a business transaction for them. It's a very emotional transaction. And we find that the business owners really want to trust and like and believe in the person who's going to take over their business.
What amount of time is really needed to prepare to sell your business? Like, how far in advance should people start planning? And can you kind of give us a 10,000-foot view on what kind of things that they should do to prepare?
Excellent question. Excellent question. So, the typical buyer and the banks who finance these deals, they look back 3 years. Bigger businesses, sometimes they may go back as many as 5 years, but 3 years is the norm. And the closer you get, so last year is more important than the year before, which is more important than the year before that. And what a buyer or a lending institution wants to see is a business that is steadily increasing, not one that's going down, and not so much one that's going up and down that's inconsistent. So if you're building your revenue and controlling your expenses so that your profits are strong, and that's at the end of the day, that's what the buyer cares about is how much money are they going to get returned to them from this business? What will their return on investment be? If you can control those things over a 3 year period, the other thing that's very important is to have a solid staff in place. So a lot of small businesses, they're like a pyramid. They're built an inverted pyramid. They're built around the owner, and you take the owner out and everything crashes down. You don't want that. You want to have a staff in place where you can pull that owner out, put another owner in, and it doesn't skip a beat.
By the time these first time sellers reach out to you, and they've probably done some research, talked to their CPA or whatever it might be, do you find that they've heard some misinformation, or are there any myths or misconceptions that you keep hearing over and over again?
Well, the value of their business. So they talk to someone and they get a unrealistic formula or an unrealistic value for their business, and it can be very hard to shake that. And again, coming back to what I was saying, there's an emotional attachment to their business. So when you're telling them that, well, maybe it's not worth what you thought it was worth, that can be very difficult for them to accept. And that's probably the greatest stumbling block we come into.
When you start working with the new seller, have you found like a common big mistake that people are making when they're preparing for sale? A big mistake, or maybe a pitfall that you can help people avoid?
Well, that's a good question, and there are a lot of them. The analogy I use a lot is that selling your business is like a minefield. So there's a lot of things you can do wrong. One of the biggest mistakes you can make, and one of the things I see happen very often before they come to me, is they breach confidentiality. So they start telling the wrong people that they're thinking of selling their business. They tell their employees, they tell maybe a major customer. That's a bad idea. You don't want to tell anyone other than your close confidants, your family, your financial advisor, your CPA. You don't want to tell anyone else that you're thinking of selling your business. A lot of bad things can happen if people find out you're selling your business. Your employees will get nervous. They'll start looking for another job. They'll quit. Your customers will get nervous, particularly if you are, for example, if you're doing home improvement or you're a roofer, and they want to believe that you're going to be around tomorrow if there's a problem, and they hear you're selling your business. Well, that's a big red flag for them. Vendors will stop offering credit, and competitors will take advantage of the situation to poach your employees and your customers. So what you really want to do is maintain confidentiality, and that's where our skill comes in. We're very skilled and experienced in putting the business on the market without anybody finding out that it's for sale.
Wow, that's a lot of dangers just with that one thing of confidentiality there. Um, Anthony, what inspired you to get into this field and help business owners in transition or selling their businesses? How did you get started?
Mark, you've been doing this for a while, obviously, because you got a lot of great questions. The true story is I was in the mortgage business around 2007. Of course, the Great Recession, my business just collapsed. It was awful. It was an awful time for me. It was an awful time for a lot of people. So I decided, well, I've got to do something else. Maybe I'll buy another business. I always had a dream of owning a bar, like Cheers. I had that in my mind. Um, and so I found out there was a bar for sale. I went and met with this business broker. He had me sign a confidentiality agreement. I'd never heard of a business broker before. So I went and looked at the bar. Didn't buy the bar, but I walked out there and I thought, this guy's not really very good at his job. I bet I could do better. And then I looked into it and I became a business broker. And it's as simple as that. And I've been doing it for over 14 years now.
Wow.
Wow.
Before I ask you my last question, Anthony, for somebody that's considering selling today, but they don't know where to start and they don't even know how to choose a business broker to work with, what's the most important thing they should consider when choosing a broker?
Well, first of all, their qualifications. So here in Florida, we're very fortunate. We have a state association. I actually past president of the North Florida district. I sat on the state board for 5 years with the Business Brokers of Florida. There's also an international association called the International Business Brokers Association. So the wonderful thing is if you talk to a broker who's a member of one of these two associations, and I'm a member of both, we generally speaking, we adhere to certain professional standards and certain ways of doing things. We're not reinventing the wheel. Uh, there are the correct ways to analyze a business. There are correct ways to market a business. There are correct ways to protect the confidentiality of a business. So you want to make sure you're working with a professional business broker who can do that for you.
Excellent. For folks listening now who are looking to sell their business and they'd like to speak with you, how do they find you, connect with you, and learn more?
Well, go to our website. It's very simple. It's the letter Q, business advisors with an S.com. Go there, send us a message or call us, and we'd love to speak to you.
Anthony, this has been terrific. I really appreciate you taking the time and sharing with my audience today, and I wish you continued success for you and for all of your clients.
Thank you so much, Mark. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you for having me here.
That was Anthony Rigney. He's the founder of Quorum Business Advisors out of Jacksonville, Florida. And this segment's been brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals get their books done and published to educate consumers, grow their businesses, and to leave a legacy. That's all for now. I'm Mark Imperial, and thanks for joining me.